What's going on, guys? So we are going to be installing a EAG E-Auto Grills steel stubby rear bumper. So what we're going to need for our install is a socket wrench, 21mm socket, an 18mm socket, 16mm socket, 8mm socket. We're going to use a knuckle here to make it a little bit easier for us. One thing you guys can do is go out and get a short 16mm socket. We just have a long one here, so a knuckle is going to be able to easily maneuver it for us, but probably the best thing to do is get a stubby 16mm socket. We also have here a torque wrench to torque everything down to make sure it's going to fit snugly, as well as a flathead screwdriver. You guys can use a proper plastic pry bar because we're going to have to be getting some wiring holders out of our plastic rear bumper. So without further ado, let's get our plastic rear bumper off so we can get our EAG stubby rear bumper on. Alright, so first thing we're going to do is remove this rear tire to make clearance a little bit easier. So we are under the driver's side of the rear bumper. So we have two 16mm bolts we are going to remove, one here and one there, to get our factory plastic bumper off. One thing we're going to do while we're on the driver's side is locate the wiring harness right up here. It's a little hard to see, for our factory license plate light, right up in here. So it's got a pin mechanism, same standard you see throughout the Jeep for wiring harnesses. So we'll get that out, and then it travels this way into the Jeep and then this way stuck onto the plastic rear bumper. So we'll get that out, these two bolts, and then we'll be able to start getting this thing off. To get a top bolt here, this 16mm bolt, since I don't have any short 16mm sockets, I used a knuckle extension here to be able to get up there and get this out. So we'll get the second bolt out. So we pop the connector out of the Jeep, and now all we have to do is push this little gray piece out, and then the connector will come. We are over to the passenger side of the Jeep, and same thing as the driver's side. We have two 16mm bolts, so we're going to get those out, and then we should hopefully be able to get this plastic bumper off. So after removing these two main bolts from the plastic bumper on each side, we actually realized it's still attached to the Jeep through a few more bolts. So there's a splash guard here that has 8mm bolts, and there's 3 of them, 3 on each side, 1, 2, and 1 over here. And this will expose 2 more 60mm bolts right here to get off, so we can take this plastic bumper off. So without further ado, let's get these final ones off so we can get this plastic bumper out. Alright, we should be able to get this rear bumper off now. So one thing we did miss, that's still keeping our bumper on, as you can see it's just hanging here, is this one connector for the stock wiring harness. It's still attached to the Jeep here, so we need to get this off. It's the only thing keeping our stock plastic bumper on, so we'll get that off and we'll have the stock off. So the last thing we need to do before we can get our EAG Stubby steel bumper on here is take off our factory tow hitch. So our factory tow hitch is 4 bolts, 2 underneath, 2 on the side here. They're all 21 millimeter, 2 there, 2 there. So we'll get those off and then we'll be able to fit our Stubby bumper on.
We took off our factory tow hitch. As you can see over here, we removed the bracket that the factory tow bumper hung onto the Jeep. So this is
when we took off our factory tow hitch, as you can see over here, we removed the bracket that the plastic factory bracket here. So let's get to that, and then we'll get our steel bumper on. We are now ready to mount our new EAG steel Stubby rear bumper. You guys probably saw a teaser in the last clip, but here it is. Pretty nice design. Welded tow hooks, as well as one thing we're really looking forward to is a 2-inch receiver that's actually welded into the bumper. So this is the main reason why getting a new bumper. Not only getting a steel one, match our front bumper, looks good. We're gonna love the look. Quality of this EAG is pretty darn good. It's definitely better than the quality of our front bumper, but we will be doing a full review of both bumpers once we run this one for a little bit. So let's get this one on there, get it installed, and see how it looks. Now we got the bumper fitted on, and we got the bolts tucked in. Go ahead and cinch everything up. So here on the passenger side, we have 2 21 millimeter factory bolts, and we're gonna get those in there. And then over on the driver's side, we use 2 longer factory 21 millimeter bolts to cinch these up. The fit on this is pretty darn good. We like how it fit. No issues getting this on here. So we'll go ahead, get all these tightened up, make a final check on the fitting, add another bracket. I'll show you that in a second. So let's go ahead and get started. The last thing we have before we check final fitment and torque everything down is our tow hitch receiver bracket. EAG supplies this along with some bolts to go through the frame rail here. So we'll go ahead and get those cinched up for final fit check. These are 18mm bolts, so we'll use our 18mm socket, get these cinched up, do our final check for fitment, and then torque everything down. We have the spare tire back on, make sure everything's gonna fit, do our final fitment check, torque everything down. Everything looks good, don't see any issues. Let's go ahead, torque all this stuff down. Torque value for our bolts to the frame is 94 foot-pounds. So we'll go ahead and get these two torqued down. Last thing we have to torque up is our tow hitch bolts. So these are 18mm bolts again. We need to torque up to 66 foot-pounds. It's our last thing, and then we'll be done our install. So let's get these torqued up. That includes our removal of our stock bumper and our install of our EAG steel stubby rear bumper. Basically what we're looking for was a cost-effective solution with the tow hitch. So this is what we got. I think it looks pretty nice. We're happy with the fit. Finish is pretty decent. Install went really well. Better than our last install. So thank you very much guys for watching. Please like, subscribe to Jeeping Out with the Joneses. Check it out on Instagram. And most of all, be safe. Take care guys.